Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Got ants everywhere. It's a thing. Definitely a thing. One second. Almost there, guys. Hello, 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 everyone. How's it going? My name's Sean. I'm Firelife 2018, and today, as always, we do every Wednesday. We're basically have a little political rally. We try to change the world without having to go through the system that is currently in place. I'm also going to give you some examples of why the current system is fail, and hopefully how my system will help us in the end. But it's all a thing. We definitely wish you to put stuff into the chat and yes, indeed. Put things into the chat, ask questions, comment on all the things we're talking about. This is a place of open discussion. Everyone is encouraged to comment and discuss. If you are watching us over on YouTube, like, subscribe, follow, all that shenanigans, so you can get this in the next time. You can just undo it later, and I just give you information that will try to be level keel. Sometimes we have guests on, sometimes we have games, sometimes we have breaking news ports, sometimes I do video game updates because I play that in my spare time. I've played some video games in the channel. But this one that we do every Wednesday here at 9, tell your friends, bring a friend, add your family, get everybody involved. This is a place for open, honest discussion, for political discourse, for moving humanity forward, as opposed to making America great again. That should be my slogan, is let's move humanity forward. I like that. Moving humanity forward. So my plan for moving humanity forward is to use the technology like Twitch to do all the political things that we need to do and stop having it be all of our lives everywhere for a million years and spending all this money on advertising and such. Like, I bet if we took all the money that we spent on political advertising and spent it on feeding the homeless, we would probably have a plethora of extra food. I mean, just straight up, all the money that we used to use for political races and campaigns and such, just straight up back to. Because if you didn't know, the government matches all the donations, so all that money you gave to Trump in 2016, he matched it with the government money to spend that, and I bet he kept his own money. I'm sure there's regulations in campaign finance for that situation, but anywho, that's neither here nor there. Why do you hope I'm straight? What is that supposed to be? Why do you hope I'm straight? That seems highly irrelevant, but thank you for commenting. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Zach Yod V2. So, my plan for changing the world is term limits and changing the way we vote. I think that situation will change America, and that could definitely change the way we're supposed to be. So the voting system I'd like in place, as always, we talk about this all the time, is the single transferable voting. It's a multi-winner ranked choice voting method. So like basically you pick 1, 2, 3, you pick the choices of what's going on, and then move forward. So you had 3 people voting and 100 people, so 3 people running and 100 people voting. If 1, 2, and 3, 3 drops out, if you voted for 3, then your number 2 vote counts, and that could change the elections one way or the other. So that's a bonus. I probably need to lower this down a little bit. Is that better or worse? I'm trying to use my standing desk more because, you know, sitting's bad for you. Anyway, so how do we feel about this single transferable voting? This is, if you have questions about that, this is the Wikipedia page. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's a whole lot of other options like star voting. I had somebody here one time talking about that, and it was definitely a situation that was worth repeating. I don't ever claim to be the end-all be-all to purpose. I just want to use my power of speech and gift to bring people in and talk about it. I think it's sad that we have gotten to a state that we can't even discuss politics without throttling one another. I think we should reevaluate that situation. That being said, this is always a safe place for Discord, and you're more than welcome to chat in the chat. Ask your questions as we go through some of this week's news highlights. So I always start off with, I'm sorry, and I also forgot to mention the change the vote situation, which is the whole big deal. But let's talk about that with the news. I'm going to bring that up when we talk about the primary elections, but I usually start the stream off with the news review. If you go to Google News and check through and see what you get for stuff in the area, I picked the best ones and we talk about it throughout this, so we might as well start working our way down. I don't know if you don't watch Republican news, you probably haven't even heard about the formula shortage. Like, the Democrats aren't talking about it at all, and the Republicans are way over talking about it. But that's because there was a recall at an Abbott factory, and it took like 80% of the WIC formula off. So like, there's baby formula available. Like, anybody who had money before was able to purchase baby formula, but it was the poor people who were on WIC that were being affected because they didn't have money for food in the first place, and they were living off WIC to the point that they had to have the specific type of baby formula that was covered under WIC, which is ridiculous, and it's a whole other ball game, but definitely a distraction technique. I feel like they invoked the Defense Action Protection. If you would like to see the sources of that one, it comes from Bloomberg. Bloomberg is a credible news source in my opinion, but with a grain of salt, because because all the news sources are a little sus at this point. So this is what we talk about. So let's listen to Biden for a second.
I know parents all across the country are worried about finding enough infant formula to feed their babies. As a parent and as a grandparent, I know just how stressful that is.
Do you think he really remembers that? I mean, I'm not dissing on Biden. I'm sure he's doing as best he can, but do you really think he remembers the last time he had a child? Just saying.
I want to provide a few updates on our work to get more formula into the United States and on the store shelves so it's available to you. Today, I'm invoking what they call the Defense Production Act to ensure that manufacturers have the necessary ingredients to make safe, healthy infant formula here at home. The Defense.
So the problem with the baby making formula is that basically there was only like 3 companies making baby formula in this whole country in the first place. So I'm not sure if how this is going to work out for just because he's enacting the Defense Production Act. I'm sure it's just going to be to give money to Abbott to get their factory in Michigan back online. But that's the news. It's in there. If you watch Republican news, that's there. All right, so our next one down is the Russian-Ukraine war situation. All right, so I picked a Fox News report for this one because they always report the wars pretty well.
Freedom of speech is under attack.
I don't necessarily represent the views of the Fox News network. I do, however, believe in full media representation, so let it not be said that I don't look at both sides. I listen to Fox News' report literally every morning. The fact that I do that makes me laugh at them more, not less. Like, even their ads are ridiculous. But they usually do have pretty good war coverage. Of course, they didn't start with that, so never mind. Fox News loses me as a viewer once again. We got to watch their commercials. You're welcome, you guys. So who would we like to look from the war today? The NPR is usually one of my go-tos. I think they give us fair and unbiased reporting. They are a public media outlet, so by all means, donate to your local public media outlet. If you're worried about the corruption, give them your money and control. There you go. So a 21-year-old Russian soldier pleaded guilty to killing a Ukrainian civilian in the first war crimes trial conflict. In case you didn't hear this whole story, there was a gentleman who was on the cell phone while the Russians were traveling through. This soldier here was told to shoot that guy because he might be giving intelligence to the Ukrainian army. So he did, and now he's a prisoner of war. I mean, the war's rough, but this poor guy, he's just a soldier. He probably just really wants to go home. I feel so bad for him in the first place, but I bring these up every week just so we don't forget, like we did Crimea. If you don't know what happened in Crimea, Google it. But we did forget it. The United States has a short memory, and I really feel like that's what Putin's hoping for. So don't forget Ukraine. There's still a war going on in Ukraine daily. So it skipped me down a lot. All right, Amazon, Twitch, Discord fan chase. This is the whole. We heard about this, right? The shooting at Buffalo. There was a guy who they claim is race related, shot up 10 people in a grocery store. Biden's calling it a terrorist threat. I'm not trying to cover it more than that. We have mass shootings in this country every day, and I am for gun control. But maybe not to the point that people think. I don't know why you need an AK-47 to hunt deer. Like, if your aim's that bad, maybe you don't need that gun in the first place. Just saying. As somebody who definitely needs a gun to defend themselves, like I live out in the middle of nowhere and like I have wild animals and things. I need a gun to do that. I do not need an AK-47 to do that. I'm a better shot than I would need 100 bullets to take down a coyote. So, I mean, like when the zombie apocalypse gets here and you're shooting down 100 zombies at a time, I'll then respect the AK-47 situation, but I'm sure there'll be plenty for us around if need be in a zombie apocalypse. So stop worrying about it so much. Like, you know, like this whole thing where people can order a gun off the internet in pieces and have it delivered to their house is a little ridiculous. Like the guns in America are a bit much. I like to point out that there was another shooting that nobody talked about this week with the church shooting of the Asian church. I don't even know what that's. Church shooting. There's probably gotta be too many for you to know. Two orange coating shooting. Yeah, it's a Taiwanese church shooting. That's what I thought. The reason I bring up this particular shooting is that these good Samaritans at this Taiwanese church took down the shooter, and they were not armed. So your whole, if there was a good Samaritan there, he would have saved him. You're right. It takes a good heart to be a good Samaritan, not a gun. So lest you not forget, this one that wasn't black on white crime wasn't even in the news, but like a minute. Like CNN covered it for like one article. Yeah. I mean, it's just a thing. If we look at full coverage of that one, 2 hours, Los Angeles Times. Where's, I mean, like they got Fox 11, like the local news of the church was doing it, but that's really it. Like some the 24-hour news networks. Like, where's Fox News? They didn't report that one. Why is this not a big deal? Huh? Oh, there it is. Nope. Still something else based on that separately. It's like a distraction technique. Anywho. That's why we talk about it. Lest you not forget that all this is probably a distraction technique. This critical race theory shenanigans is distraction. Here's something that probably should be more of a distraction, but isn't. The whole COVID situation. I don't know if you're following that, but hospitalizations on the rise, infection rates are on the rise. They're talking about people are getting less boosted, so they're less likely to be infected. It's a real serious issue, guys. You're an adults. I am much a proponent of not telling you what to do with your bodies, so I definitely would not do that, Ben. But I wear a mask literally every time I'm in public space, so if you'd like to read more about this information, I did get this from the New York Times. However, they give me so many ads and only give you so many free articles. I feel like they're in it for a little bit of the money as well. And they're like, yeah, we have to pay our reporters and such. I get it. Nobody pays me. I'm doing it. It's fine. Buffalo man accused of threatening employees at an Elmwood Avenue Tops. This is a different Tops than the one that was just shot up in Buffalo. This is a different person, and they have in custody for that shooting in Buffalo. Just to point that out, there was already a threat at another grocery store in Buffalo. I think if I were in Buffalo, I wouldn't be using the Instacart function, quite frankly. Yeah, that whole thing with the shooting in the grocery store was definitely a hate crime group, and they're using Discord to coordinate, so that sucks. There's some positive news today that people who are not looking for who couldn't find restaurants, who couldn't find formula, a restaurant owner like tapped into his special stash, so he could probably sell it and make some money. I'm sure that's not profit gouging or profiteering at all, but okay, fine. Fun. We already talked about single transferable voting, which is amazing. The primary results we were going to talk about because single transferable voting. If you notice, there's not even a mention when you search for primary results of like the Green Party or the Libertarian Party running in any of these Senate or House representatives or governors or any of these. You don't see any of these here at all. Like they're not represented. There's no representation from a third party at all, and I don't really want to vote for either one of these people. Like, some of these people might be great people, but the fact that they're running for these Democrat or Republican parties at this point just makes me turns me off. So my option for that is you should definitely write in change the vote. Like, instead of voting in for, you can just write in change the vote. And if we all do it, we all tell our friends, we all get together, we all come here on Wednesdays, and we all talk about it and bring our friends into this fold. And getting more people to write change the vote on election day, we might actually get some change done. Like when somebody sees that the people that are going to the polls are just displeased with our options. Like my sister doesn't vote because she's like, I don't really want to vote for anybody. I don't want that. But I don't know if just not voting is definitely not the answer. But I think if you go and you just show your displeasure by showing up and being like, you know, I would vote, but you guys are all crap. They just think you're apathetic, not that you don't care. If you really care about your country, you care about the people around you, you care about your own personal rights, you don't care about your money, you need to go vote. And you need to vote in your midterm elections, you need to vote in your local elections, and maybe even get involved. Because if you think the election system that we have currently is rigged, you may certainly go and vote and stay and help count. We go through trainings all the time for the whole election situation. It's not that serious, but it's still time consuming that we volunteer for. So I hate it when I hear people be like, the election system's rigged, y'all are not counting vote. Like, if it's rigged, it's not the people that are doing it at the election offices. Like, don't show up to the polls and vent your spleen on these poor people that are just trying to count paper. It's not done on a local scale, if it's done at all. Having seen the people that work in that type of field, it really amazes me. There's an ant in my water cup. The ants are driving me insane. I've ordered some acid for them tomorrow. That's right, acid. I've ordered acid to murder all the ants with tomorrow. Gotten real. I'm still confused about what that person said in chat, that he hopes that I am straight. Why do you hope that I'm straight? Like, do you want me to breed? Is that what it is, or do you feel that there's some disconnect with my look versus who I am? I'm confused. But anywho, some of the primary elections to keep your eyes on are really none of them, because it's not going to matter in the first place. Historically speaking, the party that is in the presidential seat loses elections from the House in the midterm election, and we really can't afford to lose a lot. If the Republicans get a 2/3 majority of the House and the Senate, they can change the Constitution. especially since they obviously hold a Supreme Court. In case you didn't catch that, they do hold a Supreme Court. It's now a 4-5 conservative majority, with 2 Trump appointees and 2 Bush appointees still being in there. So that's a thing. And the reason this is coming up now, the decision, but like they're redistricting lots of states throughout the union because this was repealed in 2019 quietly. No one heard. There was a law on the books that was preventing them from redoing all the districts, and they repealed this in 2019, which is why you might have seen that in the election in the previous situation, and a lot of people were just like, yeah, sure, go ahead and do it. And now you end up getting districts that looks like this. Like, this seems a little unfair. Like, I get that this is an Indian reservation, and that probably should be its own situation for sure, but shouldn't they just like have divided this down the middle? But like, if they're gonna make 2 districts out of this, like this 3 must be a city in Kansas, this like hardcore, a lot of people population, and then the rest of it's rural, so they should just divide it in half. But obviously that's not the way it's worked out. It's the Democrats are closer, so that's what's here. Then the Republicans are over here, because he couldn't take the state because he'd lose the district, because if he gave half this district and then the Democrats are in it this way, like half of this is probably a dense population like suburbs and such, and there's probably the vast majority of people would vote here, but he doesn't want that to be in a district that would take away his one district here, because he probably wins the Republican probably wins the Indian reservation and then all this rural Kansas. So this is probably Kansas City, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? So the redistricting is as a real situation. They did it in Virginia, and it was supposed to be a board of like peer review like people, and it was all rich white guys. So our Virginia redistricting looks similar to this in a Virginia shape. So when you go and you're displeased with the options that you choose for your voting, I really want you to put in change the vote. Just write in change the vote all over the thing. Well, I can't really have to write. If you foul your ballot, it won't take. But you have to write in. You have an option to write it on the ballot. Change the vote. Nothing else. Nothing more. Same exact words. It gets counted and then put on if 10% of the people in your district do it. And the only way we're going to do that is if you follow, like, subscribe, and show up here every Wednesday to talk about how we're going to save the world. We can make a plan. We could make this a thing. If I get elected as office at some point in the future, I promise that I will continue these Wednesday live streams and let people ask their questions directly to me as a government official. And I'd be like, oh my God, let me tell you this, guys. I was in this congressional meeting today, and these guys were definitely doing cocaine and hooker parties. Like that guy in the Republican district said, oh my God. There is a senator, and I can't remember who, and he didn't actually get the nomination, but he was running for the Republican National Committee's seat. I want to say it was in Kentucky, and he was like a young incumbent that was liberal for Republicans, and he got smear campaigned and all this kind of stuff came out about him, and he still almost won because he was just different than the norm. He was one who lost, and I feel like it was this. That was the Democratic one. Why did it give me the Democratic one? Well, maybe it wasn't, because Rand Paul obviously won that one hard. Senate seat. God, looks a little scary. That's our Democrat? They couldn't find a better picture of him? Like, who's his publicist? Jesus. Oh, this is the Oz and McCormick. Like, Oz might be good for us. I don't know, because he's definitely getting the liberal vote of Pennsylvania, but I don't know, he's a Trump backy. And apparently this woman took votes from him. And I'm like, yay? I don't know who she run under, but whatever. And he's like, view all candidates. Oh, look, there were plenty of other people that weren't even involved. Lots of people that tried to run for that didn't even make the news. So it wasn't Pennsylvania. Oh, I have a limit of free articles, right, for the New York Times. That gets on my nerves so much. Especially since that was really the same article. I guess I just out of my limits because it's a different article. What the French toast. Okay, so, yep. I have not prefaced this video, but they're talking about one of the Republican nominations that won and why.
Ballroom with Mastriano, you're pretty unhappy because this was a state in the midterms in this year, 2022, that you thought you had a real chance of taking. It's been the Democratic Governor Tom Wolf, for 2 terms now, and particularly you look ahead to 2024, nobody's going to win the presidency without winning Pennsylvania, and suddenly the odds are much better that the Democrat wins. The Democrat appoints the Secretary of State and presides over the election. So Republicans cannot be happy. If it were Lou Barletta, the former congressman, or Bill McSwain, the U.S. attorney, who incidentally Trump did an anti-endorsement of because he did not fight hard enough after the 2020 election, you got to be pretty unhappy. Well, this is the last person you wanted to see get the nomination.
Lou Barletta, who was more electable, came out this weekend after Trump did his 11th hour endorsement because
I'm not sure I understand this one.
Whom we thought he could win, came out and said, "Where's the loyalty about Donald Trump?" And that was sort of stunning to me because I'm sort of like, "Are you kidding? Where's the loyalty?" Lou Barletta was one of the first people to endorse Donald Trump. He has been out there for him. Perhaps, he wasn't on, at the January 6th rally or leading a group there. But, if you would have thought if Donald Trump had any loyalty to someone, it would have been Lou Barletta.
Yeah,
Mastriano
was going to win the race.
Right. Well, that's why he did it.
He took out Oz Insurance. He was.
Yeah. Yeah. Politics is becoming a thing, you guys. So there we have it. That's your news week in review. We talked about single transferable voting. We talked about make sure we put term limits. We need to write our congressmen and representatives currently to get term limits as a legislation put on the branch. Don't forget that this presidential BS where the president controls all the whatever. We don't live in a dictatorship. Our laws are created by the Senate and the House, and you need to vote in your midterm elections to keep control of the Democratic race. Must be a thing. So, anybody else have any questions out there in chat? Don't forget you can use the add-ons. You can use the emoji streams. They're my favorite because you get to emoji things. And then they bounce all over the screen. I thoroughly enjoy that. So by all means, put some emotes in the chat. You can join the Discord. I'll put a link in the chat. This is the YouTube. If we put this into that. So what do we think, you guys? That was the YouTube. I'm assuming you're watching on Twitch. If you're watching this on YouTube, Twitch Fire of Life 2018 as well. So come on over and check that out. We're here Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come hell or high water. If I got internet, I'll be here because I want to make this a thing. I've done this regularly for like 2 years. I would love to enact political change using Twitch. We saw what we did with Reddit. We saw what we did with stock markets. We saw what nerds have power to do these days. And I think it's being able to come together without leaving our houses. That's where we are at in the digital world. And here we are on Twitch every Wednesday at 9. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for that information. And then I'm going to take a short break, and I think I'm going to come back for some games. I've been talking about playing Starcitzen for like ever. So give me a second to get some air conditioning going in this place. It's gotten real hot since I closed the door. So hold on a minute. I'll be right back. So Star Citizen has its own music. Okay, so Star Citizen is a really interesting game, and it's kind of hard to understand, like in general. It's in early alpha. It is really beautiful. Is the fan hitting the? I can't tell if that's getting fan noise probably. My noise cancelling's picking it up. I can't tell. Yeah, it's not working. Let me. I'll try to fix the fan so it won't blow right on me. It's loading it anyway. So Star Citizen is kind of a, I don't know if you ever read Ready Player One. Think early version Oasis. Without the echo. Think early version Oasis. It's pretty. It's very, very... And I'm really going to be curious to see if it actually loads. But early alpha means it's really glitchy, and the way they work it out is you got to pay $45 to purchase a starter ship kit. So that's like how much the game costs. So you need to buy $45 to purchase into the game. And then it's an early alpha, so at some point they're going to make it a real game. And it's so detail-oriented. It's a little ridiculous how detail-oriented it is, probably why it takes so long to load in and out of. There's definitely a lot of glitches. It's got a long way to go. But if they ever get this in VR, it'll be out of control. Assuming it's going to load. And it has to load a whole bunch of stuff. Also, this isn't a persistent universe. Maybe that's what makes this game so unique, is the persistent universe. It means you have to wait for elevators, you have to wait for trams that are circling a city at a normal rate. Like, obviously, they're not limited by resources for how many trains they can have. So they have a lot of trains and all these trams and such. Like, you get a train every 2 or 3 minutes or so, but you do have to wait for one. So, indeed, if it ever loads, you also get to fly your ship. You get to go land on planets and shoot people. You get to do many things in this game. If it's going to load, that is definitely your first, like, obstacle or hurdle, is the loading. But the game hasn't frozen yet, so I'm not going to give up. I think as long as the little line is moving, you're okay. But Star Citizen is probably not also a game for the faint of heart, because like I said, it's in early alpha. So you got to be patient with games like that. You know what I find helps with patience? Little flowers. Little flowers help with patience, my friend. So, my day, it's been a crazy day. While we're waiting for this to do its thing. I volunteer for the Red Cross. I'm a DAT responder, and they called me about 1 o'clock in the morning, and was like, "You need to go to a hotel." And I personally, I'm sorry, the sidetrack on that one really. So they called me at 2 o'clock in the morning to go to this people's houses that burned down at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, nah, not so much. So I went back at 8 o'clock in the morning. But either way, they woke me up at 2, and then I had to get back up at 8 to go help somebody who has house burned down. So I feel like a good person, but Lord, I'm sleepy. And I feel like I get more views later in the evening. I guess everybody's still at work, kind of, but I don't know if I can hang out late. And Star Citizen obviously takes hours to get into. Even once you've loaded into the game, you don't want to load out because it takes so long. But this is abnormal. It's probably because I'm streaming. One assumes. One assume. Because I haven't maxed out anything yet. Really? I mean, the GPU's doing work. That's probably my issue there. Yeah, it's a small world after all. Video, like, I thought this was good when I bought it, and then I had to buy a whole new computer to upgrade to Windows 11 to put this in. It was a whole thing. It was the whole thing. GPU is still rocking out. Not sure if it's ever gonna really work, especially with streaming. I tried to put some videos up before. I don't know if it's gonna let me live stream this game. 16 plus 8, what's that? 24 gigabytes of dedicated video RAM is not enough. So this is gonna be a great time for some chat participation. Hello, darkness, my old friend. How's chat's world today? How are you? How's your mom and them? How's the folks? I give great advice. You got life problems, you can chat those away. I give great advice. You got plenty of time while we're waiting for Star Sector. Unless I call it a night. If nobody chats anything in the chat, then I'm going to assume that nobody's watching, and it's just hurting my view times anyway. Especially since I consider Wednesdays at 9 like the political rally, so I'm just kind of, this is fluff afterwards. Sometimes we'll play games, sometimes we have people, like if you want to be in the Discord when we go live, that's totally a thing. I can have you in the stream, you can be here. I want your opinions, I want your discussions, I want your time, your energy, your follow and or like, because those give me dopamine. Those make me happy. So, you want to make me happy? Click the button. But I think I've vamped for long enough attempting to have Star Sector. I may record something and then put it over on the YouTube channel just so you can kind of see what Star Sector like, because it is beautiful when it works. But I don't think I can stream it and do this unless you guys donate me money for a graphics card. See the PayPal in the link description below. Love you guys, mean it. But I'm gonna call it a night. Anybody has anything last to say? Now's the time. All right, well, don't forget, thank you for being here. Thanks for following. As always, we'll be here next Wednesday. Bye-bye.